MegaPodTastic. Good morning, MegaPodlings. It's Crazy Joe, and I am back at Regal. Today, we are checking out The Kingsman, which is the prequel to the two Kingsman movies. I really like the Kingsman movies. The second one, the second one was The Golden Circle, right? That was my favorite of the two. I liked the first one was good. Second one was even better. And I gotta be honest, I'm not thrilled about the idea of a prequel. I would have preferred that they just kept going and did a consecutive third film instead of a prequel. But they went the prequel route, and now the fourth film is going to be the consecutive sequel to the first two. I'm more excited about that one. That machine, that green machine there, is making a lot of noise. But we're gonna go in, check out The Kingsman. Get away from that noisy green machine. Here we go. Officially back on the Tron grid. Going to Theater 1. Now this says we're seeing Kingsman: The Golden Circle. That is not correct. That is not correct. They got the wrong poster up here. The Kingsman. The Kingsman, the third film in the Kingsman franchise. I am a fan of the Kingsman franchise so far. The Kingsman is the third film following The Kingsman, The Secret Service, and its sequel, Kingsman: The Golden Circle. I really like both of these. The Golden Circle is my preferred film of the two. They're both good, but I think the Golden Circle is the better of the two. And I was all in for a third film in this franchise because I did enjoy these two quite a bit. But frankly, I would have preferred a sequential third film that follows this set of characters into their next adventure, instead of a prequel. However, director Matthew Vaughn, who I'm a fan of, I've been a big fan of Matthew Vaughn since X-Men First Class. This is a film that really revitalized the X-Men franchise because not a lot of people cared for X-Men 3: The Last Stand or the first Wolverine movie. So after two kind of critical disappointments in a row, it was Matthew Vaughn who brought the X-Men franchise back and made a movie that pretty much everybody liked. This is the Deadpool cover. There's the Deadpool cover's fun though, isn't it? I like that. It's fun. So yeah, I like Matthew Vaughn. I'm a fan of Matthew Vaughn. And I would have preferred a third sequential film. Now, I always say one of my pet peeves as a movie fan is the phrase, "Nobody asked for that." I hate when people say nobody asked for that as a reason that a movie shouldn't have been made. So I can't sit here and say nobody asked for a prequel to The Kingsman. I can't say that because I hate when people say that. Movies should never be made based on what people asked for. They should be made based on what the filmmaker has a story for, what the filmmaker wants to tell, what they have an idea for. Because they may have a fantastic idea that wouldn't have occurred to you, wouldn't have occurred to me, and we can't pigeonhole them and say, don't make your great idea because we didn't ask for it. No. It's up to them to come out with their great idea and say, here's my idea, this is my story, this is what I really wanted to tell to you guys. And us go sit it, watch it, and say, well, do we like this? Do we not like this? That's the way it should be. So, oh man, that phrase, Nobody asked for it. Drives me crazy. So when I first heard we're doing a sequel to a prequel to the Kingsman called The Kingsman, my first reaction was kind of like, well, couldn't we just have part 3? Couldn't we just have the third chapter? But of course, I'm there for it because it was going to be written and directed by Matthew Vaughn, and I trust Matthew Vaughn. By the way, I don't have it in front of me, but Matthew Vaughn also did the first Kick-Ass film, and Kick-Ass, another great movie. So Matthew Vaughn's a talent. Matthew Vaughn is a talent. So I'm willing to go down whatever road Matthew Vaughn wants to take me on. If he had an idea for a prequel, then I'm there for it. I'll go see it. It's not the film I would have preferred. I would have preferred a third film, but that doesn't mean he doesn't have a great prequel to tell. I didn't care for The Kingsman. It's fine. It's an okay film. It's a totally okay film. On our podcast, I put this on the mediocre minute because, mediocre, it's not a bad movie. It just isn't a great movie. And part of the problem I had with The Kingsman is it's a prequel to The Kingsman, but it doesn't feel like a prequel to The Kingsman. There's nothing about it. All the aspects of the film that tie into The Kingsman, to me, felt forced. I felt, because we don't have any of these characters. The film takes place in the era of World War I, so none of these characters are in the film. It's all characters that, from a long time ago, during World War I. And it's a World War I adventure story. And every now and then, they'll go to the Kingsman tailor shop so someone could get a suit. But the Kingsman organization does not exist yet. So those scenes were like, oh, let's go to Kingsman and get you a suit. They really feel shoehorned in. It feels like, oh, we need to connect this somehow. But you don't have a connection in the characters because it's all new characters. And the Kingsman organization doesn't exist, so you don't have that connection. And basically what we get is just a perfectly fine World War I adventure story. I'll watch it again. I will. I'll watch it again when it hits 4K or streaming, if it goes to Disney Plus or Hulu, wherever it ends up. I will watch it again. Maybe I'll like it more the second time. But I felt like the connections to the Kingsman franchise were kind of shoehorned in. It was kind of like, hey, we got this World War I story, but this group of characters you've never seen before, and we're just going to kind of shoehorn in that there's this tenuous connection to the Kingsman organization. And I don't know. It didn't really work for me. And from what I've seen, the movie's kind of getting a very divisive response. Some people seem to really like it. Other people seem to think that, I don't know. This is one of those movies people are kind of on the fence with. Maybe you'll like it. Maybe, but I would say the biggest issue for me is the fact that it really doesn't feel like it's a part of this franchise. It doesn't feel like one of these movies to me. It feels like a separate thing that they tried to create a connection to. They do leave it open-ended for a sequel, so they can make another Kingsman movie that maybe would start to feel like this more. So maybe if they made like 2 more movies with this cast of characters, it would eventually start to kind of turn into this, and that's probably the goal. The only problem is I don't think we're going to get that. I don't think we're going to get that because maybe I'm dead wrong, but I don't think The Kingsman is going to perform at the box office. I don't think it's going to do well. And that has nothing to do with the quality of the film so much as the fact that it's up against 2 movies that I think are much bigger films. Right now in theaters, you've got Spider-Man No Way Home, which is breaking records. Everyone's going to see Spider-Man No Way Home. And you've also got The Matrix, Matrix 4, Matrix Resurrection. And the Matrix franchise is incredibly popular. Now, it's an old franchise. Obviously, it's an old franchise, but I think the Matrix has more name recognition than the Kingsman to the general public. So what movie, is going to do better, Matrix or the Kingsman? I would guess the Matrix. That would be my guess. So going up against Spider-Man and the Matrix, Kingsman, if it does any business at all, is going to be a distant third, I believe. So that begs the question, why would Disney, who has plenty on their plate with the MCU and Star Wars and Pixar and Walt Disney Animation, Disney's got so much that they could put out there. Why do they need to go back to the Kingsman well? The answer is they don't. They can make a film that may be semi-successful, or they can make another $1 billion Star Wars or Disney movie or a Marvel movie. Do the math. That's where the money is. So I don't think you're going to get a sequel to The Kingsman. We are getting a Kingsman 4. There's going to be a fourth film in the franchise that is the sequential sequel to Secret Service and Golden Circle. So I am excited about that. And then if that is a bigger hit, because it is going to bring back the characters from these films, then where's the logical place to go next? When you're making the Kingsman 5, do you use the characters who starred in successful films, or do you go back and do the guys from the prequel? I don't think we're going to see those characters again. I could be wrong, but I don't think we're going to see those characters again. I think any future Kingsman films we get are going to continue the adventures of these guys. So we'll see. But there you go. The Kingsman, if you're a fan of the franchise, you're probably going to want to check it out. I was a little disappointed, but it's not garbage. You won't hate yourself for sitting through it by any means. So check it out. If you're curious, go check it out in theaters now. And until next time, keep wearing those pajamas.
Keep wearing those pajamas with the plastic feet. Keep wearing those pajamas. Tell everyone you meet. Keep wearing those pajamas with the back door flap. Keep wearing those pajamas. Don't open, it's a trap. Oh no, it's a trap. Some people call them PJs, some people call them jammies. They can come embroidered with big money and no whammies. They can have 100 tiny commander pajamas, but no matter how they look, just keep on wearing those pajamas. Keep on wearing those pajamas. Keep wearing those pajamas. And now we're having fun. Keep wearing those pajamas. And now the song is done.